like OBS decided not to record. I didn't set the mic properly because I was being an idiot, a charlatan, a fool, a cretin, a simpleton, like all of those words. So that's why I have to record it again. So here we are. So this is Project A.I.M.E.E, the title track of my EP that I made almost 2 years ago. It's been a while, hasn't it? So I've done a lot of things when I was gone. I worked a little bit, I finished my master's degree, and I just plain old procrastinated like a mother flipper because that's just how I be, you know. So now I'm back with you guys and I'm gonna break down my EP. So I'm gonna start with Project A.I.M.E.E, like I said, which is the title track and the first track of the EP. How this is gonna work is that I'm gonna play like one section of a song, then I'll pause and I'll talk about it a little bit. But I don't want to do that too much because I know it'll probably annoy you guys, and nobody likes being annoyed like that. So I think with this EP especially, I always wanted to get into the world of storytelling because I studied script writing and I'm like really into writing, and I really wanted to bring that into music, but I just never had the production skills to pull something like that off. But ever since I heard Xylan's EP, We Are Dust, I was like, you know what, screw it, let me try. But then the first time I tried something similar, like it didn't work out, but then the second time I tried it, it sort of did. Like it has, I think the EP has its flaws in some places, but overall I'm pretty proud of the result. Anyway, that's enough of me talking. I'm gonna play the first section of the song right now.
System stabilizing. Project A.I.M.E.E is ready to begin. Adding arms. Adding legs. Adding synthetic brain. 3, 2, 1. Startup initializing.
Blue balls. And as I was saying, there's a few things that I can mention. So the intro of the song, it sort of starts off with this really simple pluck, and then eventually the pattern gets more and more complex as the song like progresses. And what I wanted to try and do there was that obviously this song is basically about this robot that's being created from scratch, and I wanted to reflect that within the synths. So it starts off really simple, but then it goes on and becomes something more complex over time. And I thought that was really cool, and I really wanted to add that in. And also, if you're wondering how I made the robot vocals, I used a text to speech. I think it's on naturalreaders.com, and then I combined that with a Vocodex, and I got the vocals. So here.
System stabilizing. Project A.I.M.E.E is ready to begin.
Okay, shut up. Okay, there's this really talented producer called Modus who's from Despacito land, aka Spain, and he made a really good tutorial on how to use the text to speech and then the Vocodex to make these sort of robotic sort of voice recordings, which is really cool. I'll plug him right now. Check his stuff out. He's really cool, really talented dude, really underrated. Do it now. Okay, anyway, so I think what else can we mention here? So you mentioned the synths. So in terms of how they were made, they were pretty simple, very simple patch. So it's literally, if I play the pattern, so it's very simple. It's literally just citrus. It's just like a simple sort of dead mouse pluck, you know, with like a filter. So it's like filtered pluck sound. So the cut off is all the way down, And then there's this envelope that I drew in citrus. I don't know why there's two filters. I don't know what I was smoking, but yeah, I don't know. But you only really need one filter, I think. Yeah, you only really need one filter, so I don't know what I was doing there, but yeah, it's a very simple sound. As you can see, there's a filter that sort of gradually builds up and filters out the sound a little bit more. Sort of add to what I was saying earlier in terms of the robot gradually being built over time, sort of reflected within the sounds. So adding to that, there's like some ambient effects here. There's a choir sound, which I think is just expand to. Let me open it. Yeah, there we go. So this is what Expand 2 looks like. I like this build up. It fits really seamlessly with the song. So let me play it again.
3, 2, 1. Startup initializing.
Yeah, really cool. So yeah, that's pretty much the first section of the song, the intro and the breakdown and the build up to the drop. There's obviously some effects, you know, like some rises and sweepers and stuff like that, and also some like robotic sort of glitch sounds and crap and all that crap. So sounds like these, sort of like ear candy, you know, and sort of add to the atmosphere. I'll play the first drop and then I'll talk again.
Startup initializing.
Okay, a few things to talk about. So obviously the driving sound is the synth from the intro and the build up. Very simple sound, and I cut it off to sort of create this sort of new flow or like motif like around the sounds and that. It works, yeah, it works really well. I really like the sort of chord progression that I went for. So there's not much to say, it's just like I literally just cut the thingy-majiggies. I think I'll talk about the drum pattern because this is where it sort of gets interesting, because as you can see the tempo is like 172 BPM, because initially and the project is literally called Cool Chord Progression DnB. So it literally was supposed to be like a DnB song, but it just turned into something else for some reason. I guess sometimes you have like happy accidents like that, where like you try and make one thing and then it turns into something different, you know, kind of like a Michael Jackson. That doesn't make any sense. I don't know what I'm saying. So I digress. So let me play the drum pattern. So very simple, a very short, sort of stubby, because you can see that the kick is like a DnB kick, because again it was supposed to be a drum and bass song. And the hi-hats are sort of drum and bass hi-hats, and you have like a little shuffle. Very simple. Let me go to the EQ, see how I process these sounds. Very simple. So I had transpire to sort of add more of a transient to the kick. I had multi-band compressor. So there was this video that I was watching. I think there's this producer called Zan Griffin, and then he was doing like a breakdown for one of his tracks, and he had this like multi-band compressor setting that would make his sounds, it would make his like kicks and stuff, it would stick out more in the mix and it would sound fatter and more beefier. So I just copied literally like the preset that he used in that video. I paused the video and copied it, and it did wonders. And also just EQ, I added a bit more low end. I don't know why I did that, but I ducked the sort of mid-high frequencies because I think they were too piercing. So if I were to get rid of everything and then just play the drum pattern. See, it's not as thumpy, and even with the transpire, you can sort of hear that there's more of a transient that makes the kick pop more, and then the multi-band compression really sells it, and the EQ just cleans up the sound. So yeah, and then literally just high pass, literally a high pass in these hi-hats, so nothing special there. The second part, which is here, so that's another one. Same pattern, but it's like a rim shot, which again is from a drum and bass sample pack. So what did we add to this? So some compression, some EQ. I didn't even EQ anything. See, I have no idea what I'm smoking. So, and then just a bit of reverb. Sort of, it gives the rim shot a little bit of atmosphere, as you can hear. Could have probably just high passed it. I don't know what I was thinking. Let me do it now. So yeah, pretty much, and then I sort of played with the pattern a little bit here within the second section of the drop, because I like when the sub plays on its own. I thought that sounded really cool. So I thought that was really cool, because I think some other people didn't like it, but I thought it was cool, so I kept it in. And then I added some synths on top of it to sort of keep it from being repetitive, you know? Which is literally, I think this is another citrus. I think from the same. Yeah, it's just another citrus. Yeah, and then some effects. And then the choir again to add some more atmosphere. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So you'll move on to the breakdown, which is literally.
Test run complete. Running checkup. What model number are you?
I am model number 001, after the prototype 000.
What is your brain comprised of?
90% AI and 10% human.
What is your purpose?
My purpose is to represent Project A.I.M.E.E. and to do whatever my master desires, even if it costs me my life.
Do you have any objections?
I do not understand the question.
Good.
So, with this, obviously this is just, I don't really need to talk about anything from here, because it's literally just the same sound as the first drop and the intro. I think the whole song is literally just these plucks. Basically, they're like the real driving force behind the song. And I think that's the thing, because the sound design is actually quite simple, but I think it works, and I think the simplicity adds to the song, so it works to its benefit, you know. So I guess the whole less is more sort of thing really works here. So I'll talk about the dialogue a little bit. So he's interrogating this robot. So the first section of the song, so in this case, yeah, he's interrogating the robot, and he's asking it questions to make sure that there's nothing wrong with the robot, basically. So it's to make sure if the robot thinks in the way it's supposed to think, behaves in the way that it's supposed to behave, the robot is working seamlessly, basically. That's pretty much it, really. It took a while to like perfect the dialogue, because I think initially the dialogue was quite cringy, but it took a while to sort of get it so that it works properly. Because I think that's the major flaw I think within this EP, is that I think there's quite a lot of dialogue that I think could have been cut out, really. But I think for me personally, it's much easier to write songs around like vocals in general, as opposed to writing a song without vocals within them. I think I'm kind of weird that way. So obviously lots of glitchy sort of effects and lots of like sweeping sort of robotic sounds, you know. So I'll just play this section.
Starting up second A.I.M.E.E. model. Adding arms. Adding synthetic brain.
Build up's pretty much the same as the first drop.
3, 2, 1. Start.
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention something. So this is a sound that I made myself, the phone dial thing. Like, dude, no, I felt like such a genius when I came up with this. I felt like Einstein, you know, because basically how you make the sound is that, I don't know if you guys know this, but I think I uploaded this on my channel like a few years ago. It's a tutorial on how to make a respace. So the idea is that you have two sine waves and then you put them in different semitones. So the first one would be like 12 semitones, which is an octave, and then you put the second one in 11 semitones, and then you'd add some white noise and then distortion, and the two semitones within the sound creates this wobbly effect. I think that's like phase cancellation. I don't know the exact like reason why it does that, but if you do that method, so if you follow my tutorial and then play the notes at a higher octave, it literally sounds like someone dialing a phone. I felt like such a genius, so I added that in as well. And I think that sort of adds, because it's just me sort of throwing stuff at the wall really. I think it works, because it sort of wanted to go for the sort of glitchy, robotic sort of vibes. So it sort of adds to that as well. And it fits well with the dialogue. So it's the robot who's making A.I.M.E.E. is sort of dialing stuff in, create this machine, because it's like a machine sort of creating another machine. So yeah, I'll play the second drop, which is really cool.
Startup initialized.
Okay, so I'll just talk about the drop. So this drop is, I don't know if you guys have heard of an artist called Virtual Self. So that's like it's a sort of alias from Porter Robinson, basically. So it's Porter Robinson's second alias, inspired by like early 2000s, like sort of 90s sort of trance. And I think one of his songs called Angel Voices, I think, which is a really cool song. Like within the second section, like the second drop, like you hear these really loud drums and lots of these percussive sort of synths in the background that create this really high energy. It sort of gets more and more chaotic as the song goes along, and I wanted to sort of recreate that within this drop. So I guess it is quite simple. So it's literally just, so literally this sound, another citrus. So yeah, it's a bit of FM. So FM from a sine, from a saw to a sine wave. Yeah, so the sound is pretty simple. So it's literally just an FM to pluck bass. So it's sort of similar to the pluck bass that I've made for the first drop and the whole sort of song really. At that same pattern, but it's literally just lots of distortion. It's camera crusher, some OTT, some head crusher, which is a really good free saturation plugin, some EQ to get rid of the lows, and Maximus to beef the sound up a little bit. There we go. So yeah, so there's that. There's obviously the sub bass that goes underneath. So the drums, let me play them. So this was sort of like so I took like a drum that had this sort of thumpy fundamental pattern to it, and then I added a lot of compression and saturation to it to give it that thumping sound, to just make it like punch, because I really wanted it to be aggressive, like in that Porter Robinson song that I mentioned, Angel Voices. So I wanted it to be sort of the driving force of the second drop. So if I get rid of all the effects, it sort of sounds like sounds kind of not great at all. So once I add everything in, it's a lot more thumpy. And the snare is literally like a generic sort of hip hop snare that I put in where is it? So it's literally Sound Goodizer. I know people are really cringing right now because I know Sound Goodizer is not like a plugin that takes a lot of effort to use or whatever, but it gets the job done. That's really what matters, to be honest. Like, who cares? It gets the job done, gets the job done. And I really wanted it to be overly compressed, sort of to match the energy of the drop, and then just a basic EQ to cut a bit of the low end, cut the lower mids, you know, and then that's it. And then the choir sort of adds some atmosphere, and then you have this bass. Which again, there's just expand to the choir sound. So it sort of adds to the eeriness and the suspense. What else can we mention? And yeah, the kick. Where's this pattern? So it's literally, I automated the pitch of the kick to sort of give it that sort of rolling effect. I think it's a high pass filter. Yeah, I think it is. So I added a high pass filter to that kick to sort of filter out the sound a little bit. When it gets to that section, I automated the pitch, because I think this was back before you had the graphs. Because nowadays you can just go here. What is it? What am I doing? Let's see. Okay, the graph editor. So you can go to note pitch or fine pitch, or you can literally adjust the pitch from here. But for some reason I didn't do that. I think it's because back when I made this song, FL Studio didn't have that feature, I don't think. So yeah, I literally just did that to add to the energy of the drop, you know, to add to the excitement. I can't speak. I don't know what's going on. I cannot speak. Okay. So yeah, let me talk about the synths that come in here. So this is literally, so if I refer back to the Porter Robinson song, within that second drop that I was talking about earlier, you can hear the synths that play that are really, really chaotic and add to the energy and the hype. And I wanted to reflect that, so I added those synths in as well. So they're really quick arpeggiators. So literally how I made them, they're literally, again, Citrus, my best friend, second to Hammer, but nonetheless, it's whatever. Anyway, so literally just a super saw patch, nothing special. Literally just 9 voice unison, and nothing special there. I cut it up a little bit to sort of, I didn't want it to be like 100% through, really, because I liked the pattern when it was cut up. Sort of added to the flow of the drop, really. I think if I were to just leave it as it was, like I showed in the pattern earlier, I think it wouldn't be as impactful. This choir here, I added this choir in because it adds the suspense and the tension And also there's this sort of eerie factor as well, which sort of fits within the theme of the song, not only the song but with the EP as well, because it's sort of this robot that's trying to regain her memories from when she was a human before she got turned into a robot. This choir is really good. So it's Expand once again. Soft Patch, Angels. That preset name really fits well because it does sound quite angelic, doesn't it? Some rises that add to the tension as well, building up that hype, getting the listener really excited. Sort of like a, what's the name for it? I think a crescendo. I think that's the correct name for it, where the melody sort of progresses in a sort of uplifting way that creates excitement. I don't know that much about music terminology, but I think that's what it's called, a crescendo. Literally this part, which is the second part of the drop, which is a bit more simple. So it's literally just the same pattern, but it's literally just a sub instead of the pluck bass that I had before. So it's just the sub bass. You have those little synth things that come in. As well, just to add a little bit more variation within the drop to keep it from being really repetitive. And then the choir comes in again to build that hype. So some glitchy effects.
Test run complete. Running checkup. What model number are you?
I am Lucy, model number 002.
What is your purpose?
My purpose is to represent the Project A.I.M.E.E. and to do whatever my master desires, even if it cost me my life.
Do you have any objections?
I do. I do not understand the question.
Good.
So quite a couple of things we talk about here. First off, I would say that one thing I wish I changed was the dialogue here, because I think it's honestly quite on the nose, kind of cringe in some instances. So what's happening here, if you haven't figured out already, the robot is interrogating A.I.M.E.E. again to make sure that there aren't any issues with her. So this one sort of goes rogue, as you can tell, like it starts to glitch out. So that sort of tells the listener that something is off with this robot. And this is the robot that you're going to be following within the story. I sort of, obviously, added some pitching effects as well. Pitched the vocals down to sort of have that glitchy effect, and I cut them up. I cut the vocals up to create that sort of glitchy effect. Because I think I could have used that one plugin. What's that one? I think it's called. It's glitched by Ill-Informed. I think that's the guy's name. I could have used that. I don't know why. I could have just made life 10 times more easier, but I don't know why I didn't do that. But anyway, so I cut the vocals up to add to that sort of glitchy, telling the listener that something's up with this robot, and yeah, sort of adds to the mystery. And then you hear this little part here, which is intentional because the EP is supposed to be a seamless listening experience. So when one track ends, the other one happens, but it happens simultaneously. So it doesn't feel like one track stops and then the other one begins, if that makes sense. Like in the Xylem EP, We Are Dust, every track is sort of seamless, and I wanted to do a similar thing here. I did that to some extent, but I think the transition between Mirage, which is the next track, and Sentience, which is the track after, the transitions could have been better, to be honest. I don't know why I didn't do a better job, but it is what it is. So yeah, I think that's about it really. If you guys have any questions about the EP, about this song as a whole, like hit me up in the comment section. I'll happily answer your questions. Yeah, as you can tell, this is kind of unscripted. I do have notes, but for the most part, it's pretty on the cuff. So sorry if I sort of sound a bit stuttery. But yeah, that's probably the reason, to be honest. But hopefully what I said makes sense. You can get some information from this breakdown. Hopefully there's some techniques that you can take away from this breakdown as well. I think the biggest lesson here is that less is more, or at least it can be, especially within the context of the song, because like I said, the sound design isn't very complicated. It's literally just pluck basses. Some of them have distortion on them and are played at a lower octave, but apart from that, it's literally just pluck basses for the majority of the sound design. So yeah, I guess you don't have to be too complicated with your sound design to get good results. So don't overthink things, and I guess don't be afraid to use presets, because if they work, they work. Really, I think what I would say when using presets is to not, it should just be careful not to just throw, not to just rely on them heavily and not like alter them in any way, because I think if you do that too much, I guess your music can sound a bit samey and it can sound like other artists are out there, really. So I guess if you use your presets creatively, then it's fine, really. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoy. Like, subscribe. Thank you guys for listening. As always, thank you guys for supporting me. Your support is really appreciated. Hopefully I'll do another one. I'll do Mirage. And yeah, thank you guys, and sorry again if I just sound really cringy and stuttery, but that's just how I be, you know. That's just my being. That's my way of life. So yeah, thank you guys so much. I'll catch you on the flip side. See ya. Peace. Bye.